Plaintiff Suzanne Monson met the defendant when their husbands were both incarcerated, and they bonded over the fact that they were ridiculed for standing by their men. Suzanne is suing the defendant today for unpaid loans. Defendant Maria Farron says it was comforting to have Suzanne as a friend because living with a husband who's in prison can be extremely lonely. Maria insists the money from Suzanne was a gift.
Start with you.
Well, Your Honor, first of all, I want to tell you how very much I love the show. And one of the reasons that I had the courage to come here is because I didn't feel that you would belittle us for being prison wives. My husband was incarcerated for 26 years in Auburn, and Maria and I were prison wives together, and just as close as...
How did you meet your husband?
Oh, I met him in New York when I was a baby. I was very young. I married him.
Okay, so you knew him before he went to
yes,
prison.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And I stood by him all that time, which is a very...
Commendable, for sure.
Well, it's not about commendable. It's just not usual. Most people leave their husbands.
You might have a good point. In fact, you do.
I made the long run.
All right, good.
I had to endure a lot of ridicule, and I saw a lot of the injustices inside the prison system during the time that I was standing by my husband.
Okay.
And I mean, I've helped Maria numerous times. She's helped me numerous times. And that was how we became such good friends. I'm an only child. When this happened to my husband, I never dreamed that I would have this kind of life. And I was ostracized by any friends that I had before that. My family had very little to do with me except my mother. She didn't want any of her friends to know. And so it was a very lonesome life.
Has your husband been released?
My husband died in prison, sir.
Oh, sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that. Here's some tissue, please.
He died of MRSA. That was the medical things was one of the things that I was fighting about.
Defendant Maria Farron says she bonded with the plaintiff because both of their husbands were incarcerated and they were ridiculed for supporting their men.
You want to give some background, ma'am?
Suzanne and I have been friends, like she had stated, for over 20 years. We met, basically, both our husbands were incarcerated, and we went to quite a few meetings together, and it was a long trip for her to come from where she lived to where I lived at the time. And so I did offer for her to stay with me. It was easier than motel rooms. We bonded. She was an only child. I have a sister I don't speak to. I helped her. As she said, she helped me. Unfortunately, her husband did pass while he was in prison. And at that time, she was already living out of state. So I did go visit when he was ill. I did go visit him and update her periodically to help out. So again, we were extremely close. And the prison life, you know, like she said, is very hard. Few people want to bother with us. You know, you're on one side or the other. And I lived in a prison town, which made it twice as hard. So it was great to have a friend. So that's kind of the background. We've been very emotionally tied in many ways.
I'm on a prison campaign or tour where I go into the prisons and try and motivate the inmates, speak to them, give them information on things, on training opportunities and ex-offender programs so that when they come out, they can be productive. And I've been to about 8 or so. Several of them have turned me down. The most recent reason, a prison in Pennsylvania, which happens to house one of my relatives. So I was going to do a presentation there, and they said I couldn't because relatives can't volunteer.
Yes, sir. No.
So they considered me speaking to all the prisoners as volunteering for my relative that's there.
Yeah.
And denied me the access to try and motivate the prison. And I found it very often. Some of these prisoners turn me down. Or when I go in, they just try. I mean, the way they treat you, it almost makes you think like I'm a criminal. I'm like, hey, that was years and years ago. All right, let's get to the loans you're suing for. But let me congratulate you ladies for hanging in there and doing what you can. Yeah, how did you loan her? And she
well, like I say, prior to this loan, I had loaned her large sums of money. Before this, she'd always paid me back. She bought a car for me, paid me right back early. I can't even really count the number of times, 5, 4, some 5, 6 times. I had loaned her substantial monies, and I always got it back. My husband passed in 06. I had moved down because he was supposed to be getting out. So I had moved down and gotten a place, and she wanted to move Mama and herself down to Georgia. And so I volunteered. I said, I'll pay the expenses, pay me back. And
how much in total?
$7,400.
Oh my goodness. And how much have you received back?
She still owes, excuse me.
Is it for the amount you're suing her for?
$4,450.
All right, ma'am, let me hear from you.
Suzanne, after talking with my mother quite a bit, convinced her, to move to Georgia because it was now the retirement area.
All right.
So I was bombarded by my mother and Suzanne to make this move.
Okay. All right. Let's get to the unpaid loans she's suing you about.
Well, I never felt it to be a loan. As I said, I was bombarded by the two of them to move down, and my mother bugged me, and Suzanne offered to pay, and she did that. She actually found a house down there. She put up the security.
Have you paid her nearly $3,000 on something?
Your Honor, I have here the receipts that I did pay her what I could.
Why?
Why? The reason is, as I said...
Because you said it wasn't a loan.
Because it did amount to a whole heck of a lot of money, and she's been a friend, a dear friend. Things she's done for me, I could never repay her. My mother and I both agreed that we need to give her some money back for everything she's done because it was kind of an unspoken thing. I didn't expect her to pay that much when it started out to be that way.
You think you can bounce for just a little more?
I have no more. And the reason I have no more, Your Honor, is 3 months after we moved down there, my mother passed away.
Sorry to hear that.
And my mother had a military pension. And so I went ahead and was paying her $500 a month out of my mother's money. Once that ended, I didn't have that money.
Defendant Maria Farron says she bonded with the plaintiff because both of their husbands were incarcerated and they were ridiculed for supporting their men.
Everything you're saying indicates a loan. When you come up with a payment plan, and I tried to pay her, and the reason I'm not paying is because of this and that. If you just say, I don't owe, it was a gift, that's different from setting up a payment plan and saying, I can no longer pay her because of my circumstances. That means if your circumstances were better, you would keep paying her $500 a month. And when would you stop the $500 a month? I'm sure you would stop the $500 a month once it reached $4,450.
I've given her everything I could, Your Honor.
But she can have a brand new car, and she can have brand new furniture.
Ma'am, have you all broken up your friendship over this?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Since
sir. And
when?
that's what, the last time I heard from her would have been in December of 09.
Oh, that's a long time, but perhaps you all can do what you can to become friends again. However, ma'am, everything you've said indicates that it was a loan by your own structure that you set up, $500 a month. Well, you set up a specific amount because you believe you owe a specific amount. Certainly, you wouldn't say $500 a month not owing because that $500 a month means what? Eternally? You didn't have a deadline, so that convinces me that it was a loan, and I'm going to have to grant her a judgment. $4,450. Have a good day.
Are you happy? You got your money that you blew all over the place over friendship. Are you happy now? Our friendship meant more to me than $4,000, but
apparently not more than your car and your new furniture and your wall-sized TV and all you can afford to buy all that. You can't even give me anything.
I didn't try to buy my family back with $250,000 homes and dream vacations. Have a good day.
I wish I'd never loaned her the money and we'd still be friends.
I wish I never left New York and had the money. My mother might be alive and I'd have a friend. I would love to have Suzanne as a friend. She's my sister. I love you, Suzanne.
I love you too.
I'll pay for dinner.
Okay.
And you don't have to pay me back.